I'm going to be telling you what is an atom. In this lesson, I'm going to explain what is an atom, structure of an atom, simple example, basic facts about atoms, what holds the atoms together, types of atoms, isotopes, molecules and compounds, atoms and chemical reactions. What is an atom? An atom is the smallest unit of matter that retains the properties of an element. Think of it like the building blocks of everything around us. Every single thing you see or touch, whether it's a chair, water, air, or even your own body, is made up of atoms. They are so small that we cannot see them with our own eyes or even with a regular microscope. Structure of an atom. Even though atoms are tiny, they are made up of even smaller parts. These parts are protons. These are the positively charged particles that sit in the center of the atoms called the nucleus. Neutrons live neutral. These are the neutral particles, meaning they don't have any charge. They also live in the nucleus along the protons. Electrons, they are negatively charged particles that move around the nucleus in paths called orbits or shell. To imagine this, think of the solar system. The nucleus, protons and neutrons is like the sun, and the electrons are the planet moving around the sun in different orbits. Simple example. Let's take water as an example. Water is made up of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Every single drop of water, no matter how small, is made of these atoms. If you keep breaking down water into smaller and smaller pieces, you will eventually get down to an individual hydrogen and oxygen atoms. Basic facts. Size. Atoms are incredibly tiny. It would take about 100 million atoms lined up next to each other to span the width of a human hair. Invisible. Long ago, people thought atoms could not be split apart, but we know now they can be broken into smaller pieces, proton, neutron, electrons, with advanced technology. Elements. There are over 100 types of atoms called elements, like gold, silver, carbon, and oxygen. Each element is made up of only one type of atom. For example, a gold ring is made entirely gold atoms. What holds the atom together? Atoms are held together by something called electromagnetic force. The positive charge of protons in the nucleus attracts the negatively charged electrons, keeping them in orbit around the nucleus. This force is a bit like how magnets stick together. Types of atoms. Atoms are different from each other based on numbers of protons, neutrons, and electrons they have. For example, hydrogen atom. It has 1 proton, 0 neutrons, and 1 electron. Carbon atoms. It has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Isotope. Sometimes atoms of the same elements can have different numbers of neutrons. These are called isotopes. For example, most carbon atoms have 6 neutrons, but some have 7 or 8. Even though they're still carbon, they're called isotopes of carbon. Molecules and compounds. When two or more atoms join together, they form a molecule. For example, when 2 hydrogen atoms bond with 1 oxygen atom, they form a water molecule, H2O. If different types of atoms join together, they create a compound. For instance, water H2O is compound made of hydrogen and oxygen atoms. Salt NaCl is compound made of sodium and chlorine atoms. Atoms and chemical reactions. Atoms are involved in chemical reactions. Chemical reactions almost rearrange themselves atoms rearrange themselves to form new substance. For example, when you burn wood, the atoms in the wood react with oxygen atoms in the air to create ash, smoke, and the heat. Atoms are foundation of everything. Without atoms, there would be no matter, no trees, no air, no food, and no humans. Scientists study atoms to understand how the universe works from the tiniest particles to the largest galaxies. Conclusion. Atoms are the basic building blocks of matter, and they are made up of three key parts: proton, neutron, and electrons. Understanding atoms help us understand everything around us, from the simplest elements like hydrogen to complex molecules of proteins and DNA. Although they are small, their impact on our lives and the universe is immense.